Chiefs make a huge trade that I think is a complete home run for the franchise. Today, we're going to break down quotes from Brett Veach, try to get some insight into the motivations for the trade, the directions the Chiefs might go in a world without Trent McDuffie, and look at some of the draft grades given out. This is a special edition of Chiefs Coast Bias. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Chiefs Coast Bias. I'm your host, Mal Gore. Big news dropping from the Chiefs this week as they traded Trent McDuffie, something that followers of this channel know I've been advocating for weeks. I think it was unavoidable. The Chiefs needed draft capital. Chiefs couldn't afford to pay a cornerback top of the market money, and he was our best asset to trade. Brett Veach got it done. First, we're going to start by breaking down an article from ESPN, came out today by Nate Taylor, why the Chiefs traded all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie, and I think it gives a lot of good insight into the thinking of the team, some of the rationales, and maybe some of the directions and the challenges ahead of Brett Veach. First quote is, "The trade was one of the most difficult decisions in Veach's tenure. The Chiefs deemed that it was more important to revamp and reload their roster to remain Super Bowl contenders than sign McDuffie to an extension that could have potentially made him the highest paid cornerback in the league. Reed and Veach knew the Chiefs still had plenty of other positions on the roster they needed to address this offseason: pass rusher, running back, receiver, safety, and linebacker." And right there, I think, is a great sign. I love this quote because it shows that they are not being unrealistic. This is, Andy Reid might have said, hey, we're just a tick off. How many times do we hear Andy Reid say that in press conferences? But Brett Veach is recognizing that this roster needs a lot of work for the team to get competitive again. And this is encouraging for Chiefs fans. This isn't a team that thinks they just need one player or two players in order to get back into contention. This is a team that knows they need an influx of talent, of good talent, and has been making a lot of moves, allowing them to be aggressive in free agency with the cap space being freed up. Taylor was also released today, so now the Chiefs are sitting at over $20 million under the cap, which is incredible given that just a few weeks ago they were $60 million over the cap, and they've got draft capital to move around, including three picks in the top 40. That's incredible. Article goes on to say that same set of factors in 2022 led to the Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill, for them to have 12 picks entering that year's draft. And Chiefs fans love that parallel because that draft was the beginning of the reset that ultimately succeeded for the Chiefs as they played in 3 consecutive Super Bowls, getting players like McDuffie. Next quote, "The last few years we were kind of just like in a maintenance stage. Now we're trying to rebuild this thing again." I think for a GM and a personnel staff, that's exciting. A lot of fans were worried that this team thought that maybe that they were just unlucky in 2025, that they just needed one player and that they could mostly bring the people they had back and just kind of add a little bit. Veach is being very clear that this is not about maintaining the core that they had before. This is about acquiring a new core of players for the Chiefs. And as I've said before, when you look at Mahomes' career and its trajectory, the players that the Chiefs draft this year and next year are going to make up the nucleus of Mahomes' final run as an NFL quarterback. And I still think that that's true. So, a couple more quotes. "As part of the plan to replace McDuffie, the Chiefs could use the number 29 pick to select one of the top cornerbacks in this year's class of prospects." ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed had the Chiefs in his mock draft Wednesday selecting Tennessee cornerback Jermad McCoy with the 29th pick. Well, I'm glad this quote isn't coming from Veach because I don't want to do that. If that is absolutely the best player available and you believe it's one of the best corners in the draft by far, then sure, go ahead. But I don't think the Chiefs are locked into taking a cornerback. They've got Fulton coming back, who I know had a hard time getting on the field. I was also skeptical of Fulton, but if you look at the last 2-3 games of the season, Fulton really stepped up and showed that when playing at his best, that is a person who can start in the NFL. I think the same thing for Noel Williams. So I don't think that the team needs to invest that level of capital. I think that they can go mid or later rounds, something they've shown they can do consistently, or they can even go free agency, maybe try to get Jalen Watson back on the team or sign a mid-tier corner. I would personally sign Watson if we're talking about a contract in the $10 to $13 million a year range, because you can structure that contract to not be so bad on your cap. You can structure it to be a 3 or 4 year deal that allows you to get out of it after 2 or 3 years. You're not constrained training the team too much. He knows the system and he's played well. So I'm not against that either. But I don't think the Chiefs can't take a cornerback, or under no circumstances should take a cornerback with 29, but they shouldn't be locked into it. They don't need to feel like they have to take a corner. There are other avenues that they can make. They really need to focus on making sure they get players who serve an impact. If that happens to be corner, so be it. And we see Veach's strategy throughout history, his history as GM of the Chiefs here, with the next quote that says, Veach has never signed a cornerback who played for the Chiefs on their rookie deal to a second contract. That is wild. McDuffie is expected to sign a long-term extension with the Rams that surpasses the record-setting contract cornerback Sauce Gardner signed in July, 4 years, $120.4 million with the Jets. The Chiefs knew prior to the start of last season that signing McDuffie to an extension would require exceeding the terms of Gardner's contract. And to me, that's the crux of it. It's not just about the value that you get in return, though it is awesome to trade one player and to get 4 picks back, one of them being a top 30 pick and the other being a top 100 pick. That is amazing to get that return. But it's also, this is a player who's going to be demanding top of market money, which, as I showed you in previous episodes, puts him around $30 million a year. There's no way the Chiefs can prioritize that, especially given the makeup of the team as it stands. This team needs defensive line. I've said it 100 times. Corner is a great position to have. An elite corner is very useful, but the power of the cornerback diminishes if you can't put pressure on the cornerback. And if you're talking about impact players, you want the players that play closer to the ball, and to me, that's the defensive line. It's not about McDuffie's skill. It's not even about the value. It's about the value compared to the needs of the team. Now, let's get into some of the grades. First one here, Trent McDuffie trade grades. This is an article by John Breach that came out yesterday, March 4th. He says, the deal actually makes a ton of sense for the Chiefs. Agree. This is a team getting old, has a lot of holes on its roster, and the quickest and cheapest way to fill those holes is by acquiring as many draft picks as possible. And again, says McDuffie wanted about $30 million a year. Now, here's the part of the article I don't like. You're going to see another one of my videos about this. With the additional pick, that means the Chiefs might feel more comfortable taking a swing at someone like Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love at 9th overall. I've already said my piece on that. If you want to watch my other video on it, Jeremiah Love's a great player. Will probably be a great player in the NFL, is not an ideal player for the Chiefs at number 9. There are only very limited circumstances in which I think the Chiefs can justify taking running back at 9th. So I'm glad that that's merely analysis and not an insight that we're getting from Brett Veach, because I want the Chiefs to stay open and I want them to prioritize other positions if possible at pick number 9. So that draft gave it the Chiefs a B+ on that grade. Next one, Trent McDuffie trade grades. This is by Jeff Howe. Oh, I don't know. Chiefs grade A-. Good value for McDuffie. Now we have picks 9 and 29 in the draft. We can move up the board for an impact player. Don't rule that out. Now, I don't think they can move very far up and just have the 29 be part of the compensation. But if you're talking about a team that's only going to be moving down 1 spot or 2 spots, Chiefs go up in 8 or 7, I do think it's possible that the 9 and 29 is enough to get that done, maybe throwing in another late pick and maybe getting a mid or late pick back from the team trading down. So I love the flexibility it gives Brett Veach. The draft night's going to be very entertaining for Chiefs fans. I would be shocked if they pick 9th and 29th. Even if they do pick twice in the first round, I do not think that it will end up being at 9 and 29 unless this board falls in a way that is just a miracle and everything that Brett Veach wants. Next one, USA Today. Who won the Trent McDuffie trade? Well, they gave the Chiefs an A-. So you're seeing so far really solid grades. The lowest thing we're seeing right now is in the B range. So most analysts agree that when you trade a player for 4 picks, 2 in the top 100, especially someone commanding that much money, that you're doing pretty well. And I think when you put it in the context of the Chiefs and their needs, it is a home run for the Chiefs. If McDuffie wasn't in Kansas City's long-term plans, offloading him before he reaches free agency might simply have been good business. With the second day 1 selection, additional draft resources, Veach is well positioned to build something formidable for the latter half of Mahomes' career. I really like this article because it's kind of talking about what I mentioned, which is we as fans need to be thinking about this draft and next draft as these are the players who are going to be with Mahomes virtually to the end of his career. Yes, they will keep adding players, but if you're going to have a dynasty, something similar to what you had in the first half of his career, if you're going to repeat that for the second half of his career, this draft and next draft both need to produce multiple quality players. It's the only way that you're going to get a core strong enough to sustain that level of success, because those players are 4 years minimum and also very cheap. Last one we're going to look at, I think it's the last one. Another grade, they give an A. The future outlook of this trade hinges on how well the Chiefs utilize the draft picks they received in the deal. Teams can have a surplus of picks at their disposal, but if they fail to draft and develop players, the volume of selections doesn't matter. General Manager Brett Veach and the front office must nail these picks, but they now have the ability to add a plethora of cheap contracts at several areas of need, and this, I think, is a very apt point that we don't think about enough. We all lament bad draft picks. We all talk about the necessity of getting more picks, but really more picks is just more lottery tickets. There's no guarantee in the draft. It matters how well you do in terms of the quality of the picks. You've got to hit them. This just gives you more chances to make mistakes, more chances to have success. And the more chances you get, the better that is for your team, which is why I feel very comfortable with this. So my final grade, the Chiefs Coast Bias final grade, is an A. I think that this is a home run for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the best I think that we could possibly have done. I even said before that I wouldn't mind 2 picks in the top 100, even if one of them wasn't a first round. And here we go. The Chiefs get 2 in the first round as well as 2 mid-round picks. Now the Chiefs have multiple 5th round picks. I believe 3 or 4 5th round picks. Do you really think they're going to pick 3 or 4 players in the 5th round? No. This gives them the capital they need to move around the board, get the people that they want. I'm really excited about it. It makes the draft night so much more exciting for the Chiefs. You couldn't afford to keep this player. There was just no way that McDuffie was going to be able to stay on the team at that contract level. And this is much better than waiting till the 2028 draft to get a compensatory pick that would have really realistically been at the top of the 4th round. So we're getting way more here. Essentially, you're trading 1 player for 4 players. That's a good deal. Now it's in Brett Veach's hands. Can he make the right pick? I don't like the quote saying that we should feel as though we need to draft a cornerback now in the 1st round. No, we don't. We need to play free agency and see. The Chiefs shouldn't feel locked into any pick. They just need to know that between draft and free agency, those needs need to be met. I don't like the idea of this gives them ammunition to feel comfortable getting Love. I talked about that in another video. The Chiefs just have too many other needs and priorities to go with a running back at pick 9. Wish Trent McDuffie all the best. Think he's going to have a great career in the LA. I'm really glad that he's going to get his top of the market deal, that $30 million. As much as I love him, I don't think he's worth that, but the Rams can afford it, and that's what they're willing to pay. So more power to you, Trent McDuffie. I'm happy for you. I'm also happy for Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs. 3 picks in the top 40. That's exciting stuff. The defense needs a lot of work. Well, now they have some of the power to go do it. And, of course, we have the cap implications. Not just the fact that they now don't have to sign McDuffie to a $30 million a year deal, but they did free up over $13 million in cap space by trading him. They now have the flexibility to go sign some real free agents. And the free agent market at pass rusher is never that great. The best players are also quite a little old. Like Hendrickson, I believe, is 31, 32 years old. Now you can try to go after one of them if you feel confident, or you can go for a couple of signings that are more in the mid-range just to give yourself options. We need bodies on this team, and you got to let them compete it out and see who's going to be the best. But what do you think of the trade? I'm just a fan who wants more discourse about the Kansas City Chiefs, elevating them, talking about this dynasty. And if you're a Chiefs fan, this is such an exciting time. It's the peaks and valleys of the NFL are what made me love it so much. We all felt so bad at the end of the 25 season, watching that team collapse and getting down to 6 wins. Now we sit here and we see these trades coming in. We see the Chiefs getting the cap right. We see them accumulating draft capital. And we know, just like in 2022, that if Brett Veach can pull this off, we are in for another peak in the coming seasons. We just need Mahomes to get that knee healthy and get out there. And we need Veach to hit on, out of all these picks, get us 3, Veach. Get us 3 that are reliable starters, and that is huge because you're going to use free agency to plug in. And if 3 are reliable starters, that probably means 2 more of them are solid role players. That is what I would call a home run draft. You now have the tools to do it. This is Chiefs Coast Bias. I'm Mal Gore. Let me know what you think of the trade. Hit the like and subscribe button. Help me get the word out. Commenting on the video also helps. Anything that shows YouTube that the audience is engaged encourages them to show this video to more people. And that's all I'm trying to do, is get more people being able to get content about the Chiefs, talk about the Chiefs, and enjoy the thrill of Chiefs Coast Bias and of Chiefs football. I'm Mal Gore signing off for Chiefs Coast Bias, and you have a fan-flippin-tastic day.